Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Film Buds podcast. This is episode number 168. And my name is Henry.
And I'm Paul.
And this week, we're joined once again by our friend, Nick Delgadillo. Nick, hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
Good.
Again.
Yeah. This week, we have another doubleheader for you. We have a review of Mortal Kombat, the reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it. And then we have a review of Nobody, the new Bob Odenkirk action film, which is in theaters and I guess on VOD as well. So we have that. And then I figured we could touch on the Oscars a little bit. I didn't watch them, but I mean, there are at least a few things interesting that happened.
Fell asleep.
Yeah. So did Anthony Hopkins, apparently.
Yeah.
And, we might get to some other stuff we watched or something like that. So, normal stuff, but nevertheless, very exciting, Nick.
Yes. Incredibly exciting.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks again for joining us. Well, how you guys doing?
Doing pretty well.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Can't complain, just chugging along. Oh, I spoke to friend of the show, Sky Tilly, the other day about Mortal Kombat, actually. So,
oh, great.
Yeah.
How did he feel?
Hates it.
Really? No way.
Yeah, so we're starting out strong.
Yeah. Nick, what about you, man? I mean, you are, I guess for people who haven't heard the last episodes, you are a film critic, film writer of many sorts.
Big
How's
time.
that?
Everyone knows my name.
Yeah.
Of course. Yes, that's going well.
It's good.
It's keeping me very busy.
Yeah, for sure.
Written anything new recently?
I did a review of Mortal Kombat. A lot of what I do weekly is, like lists, like a streaming guide, like 10. I always do 10 things to watch this week and which service has them. And with the change of the month coming up, I do another 10 upcoming movies and everything.
Nice.
And yeah, just a few smaller indie movie reviews. I watched a movie called Eat Wheaties, which is a comedy starring Tony Hale. It's a fun premise. It's a pretty funny movie. Tony Hale is this guy who gets put in charge of his college reunion, and he just so happens to have gone to school with Elizabeth Banks, and nobody believes that he was friends with Elizabeth Banks at one point. So kind of his life falls apart as he tries to prove that he was friends with Elizabeth Banks at one point. Pretty good. It's out this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Interesting.
Well, not too much to mention, really. Guys, anything?
No, today is me and my wife being together for 2 years.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not married for 2 years, to clarify for listeners. We've only been married for 6 months.
Oh, well, still.
That's to shut up then, actually.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I have is I recently bought myself some bulk candy online.
What'd you get?
Well, I'm a big bubble gum guy. I'm always chewing gum, and so I bought myself a 6-pack of Bazooka bubble gum, which I've not had since I was in middle school. 60 pieces each container.
Oh wow.
Each individually wrapped, apparently, so that's going to be quite a time. Maybe I got some butter.
Next time we see him.
Yeah. That's the big one. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Were you a big league chew kid?
When I played baseball, yes. Back when I was in middle school, but that was purely out of obligation. Because I played baseball.
Yeah, I liked Big League Chew because they had a sour apple flavor.
Oh, yeah.
Sour flavors a lot, and that thing just kicked ass. Not been able to find it anywhere since I was a kid. I see Big Chew. I see the Big League Chew everywhere, but I don't see the sour apple flavor anymore.
Yeah, I think I just got sick of sticking my hand in the pouch and getting like it with my hands.
Yeah,
I just wanted to have it, cleaner. But anyhow, yeah. Well, I guess we have a lot to talk about, so I guess we should get into our review of Mortal Kombat, and we do have a clip, so take a listen.
You jealous, girlie? For me little marking? Hey, I'm talking to you. If you want it so much, all you gotta do is kill me. Take it. Now, come on, what do you say? You wanna dance?
It's your blood.
How'd it go?
Okay, so Mortal Kombat is in theaters now, as well as on HBO Max. And it's directed by Simon McQuoid, I think is how you say it. And it stars Louis Tan, Jessica McNamee, Josh Lawson, Joey Taslim, Makad Brooks. Am I forgetting? I know there's a lot of people in this movie, but am I forgetting anybody big?
No.
And the synopsis is MMA fighter Cole Young seeks out Earth's greatest companions in order to stand against the enemies of Outworld in a high-stakes battle for the universe. So, a lot going on there.
So it says.
Yeah. So this one, I guess some, at least maybe not hype, but excitement for this one.
I'd say there's hype. There's
yeah.
I mean, Mortal Kombat's still going strong today. There's a pretty solid fan base.
Yeah.
For that. And the first movie, the 1995 movie, at least has like a pretty solid cult following.
Yeah.
So it's there. I am not huge. I'm not overly familiar with Mortal Kombat. I am just complete ass at fighting games. I am
Same.
not. They're not fun for me unless they were like specifically like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto. But other than that, I'm just terrible at them. So I don't have, I can come at this from like a huge fan approach. Like I know Sub-Zero and I know Scorpion, and I'm like, I can recognize the other ones.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I mean, I guess Nick, you kind of started off a little bit, but since you are the guest, would you like to kick things off? What did you think of Mortal Kombat?
I don't know. Mortal Kombat was a lot of fun for me. Like I was entertained by it. It is a strange. It's kind of all over the place as far as plot goes. Is it about Cole protecting his family? Like kind of. That's like his motivation, but his family's like sidelined immediately. And maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize like that they had established that he was married, that he had a wife and a kid. I thought maybe, I don't know. I thought maybe the kid was like his girlfriend's daughter from a previous relationship or something. That wasn't very clear until like halfway through the film. And I was like, oh, matters at the end of the day. But
yeah.
No, when I first saw her, I thought kid's sister.
Yeah. Like that kind of relationship. I think that daughter. Yeah. The way she was his corner guy and everything. Anyway, I thought it was kind of fun. I thought it could have gone further if it wants to really be like, part of it's like marketing was like, oh, the fatalities, it's R rated, it's violent. And like it is, but, maybe it's just because stuff just isn't shocking anymore. Like in the 90s, when the games first came out, they were all controversial and everything. And you can find stuff like that just pretty much anywhere with ease. That's what floats your boat. I feel like it's really hard to be shocking or controversial as far as like just violent content goes. I don't know. Somebody else jump. I got to think about like specific points.
Henry, you want to take it?
Sure. So I'm similar to you, Nick. I've played Mortal Kombat once or twice.
Yeah.
I find it interesting from a distance, but I don't really get a whole lot from playing those games. And so I've seen the first film from the 90s, and that's about it for my knowledge of it. And really, like, based on how others are feeling, I don't know what they're on, but it's like I thought it was. I mean, I was kind of expecting this. I thought it was the worst thing I've seen all year, I think.
It's very silly, you know.
But see, I actually didn't find it to be that silly. I thought it was kind of flat.
You think it takes itself too seriously?
Yeah, which, I mean, I could kind of tell from the trailer, and seeing that it's produced by James Wan, that kind of makes sense. But I thought there were a couple action sequences that I enjoyed, but for the most part, I thought it was so sluggish. I thought everyone in the main cast, like, people are saying that the guy who plays Kano steals the show. I thought he ruined the show. Like, I thought he was just the most, like, stereotypical action guy. And in a game, that's okay. Like, because you're not really, like, spending a lot of time with him. But in a movie, we've seen that a million times.
Yeah, this is like the strangest thing to me. But also, like, it kind of shows the glaring issue with the movie that I feel like Kano gets, like, the majority of screen time eventually. Like,
yeah.
Might as well be the main character. And it's like someone maybe in the editing room or something realized, like, this is actually, like, the best that we've got here is this, like, racist, annoying character.
Yeah.
Who gets his powers by saying racist things to the Asian characters.
Yeah.
Classic scene.
Yeah. And strangely enough, like, the stuff with Kano is, like, he's the one that has, like, the most energy.
Mm-hmm.
And to have, like, you know, I don't know how much is the script and how much is not, but, like, he's going for, so like I said, he's bringing some kind of energy to it. I don't know the actors' names. When they get to the temple, there's the fire, the guy with fire powers. Then there's Kung Lao, I think his name is, with the hat. Those two are taking it very seriously, but like, to a point that I really enjoy it. Like, everyone in this movie thinks they're in a different movie, which is part of.
Now, let me say, maybe I didn't mention his name. I love the guy at the beginning. That he's a great character actor. Who's the father whose family
in Japan?
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah.
Love that. I saw he was by far my favorite part. But
once again, it's like completely different movie. You know, like, it feels like a different. You're like, okay, this is something, and then it's constantly changing on you, like, what kind of thing this is.
Yeah.
No, the movie, you know, everything about the promo art definitely suggests that this is like a Scorpion and Sub-Zero forward movie, you know, like, everything about it. You go onto HBO Max and, you know, their faces are huge upon the screen, just like Godzilla and Kong, you know. And then you get into it, and the movie is really bookended by those two characters. So then you go, like, the majority of the movie without, like, one of the poster characters of this whole thing, you know, which is kind of fine. But, you know, when you do a little bit of a bait and switch, I think it's a little bit of a problem.
Because they're selling the recognizable characters.
Yeah. Well, and like,
regardless of how large of an impact they actually have on the story itself.
Yeah. So, like, I played Mortal Kombat 9 all the way through, and, like, when I did, I went back and I learned some of the lore, and I was like, wow, this is just very, very dramatic. It's borderline melodramatic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I liked the game fine enough, but, like, it wasn't enough for me to ever go and buy, like, 10 or 11 or anything like that. You know, I would go, and if someone had it, I would play it at their place, but, like, I didn't want to go. There were other things. I watched the old 95 movie, I watched the 97 sequel, and I watched the early 2000s, not early 2000s, it's like the early aughties, I guess, like the early teens, web series that happened. And I enjoyed, like, the web series a lot. I thought that was a lot of fun, because also it was episodic, so they could just sort of do it like an anthology thing of introducing all of these characters. I didn't finish the second season, though. The second season I didn't find as enjoyable as the first season. This movie I did not enjoy very much myself either, and I think that that's because it is too much of a direct adaptation of the game, if that makes sense. And so it inherits all of the sort of baggage and problems that came with the narrative of the game. And I think that it's good for people who know a lot of this stuff, because honest to God, all throughout this movie, since I do have more of a pocket knowledge, I was like, oh, he's about to say the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, he's about to do the thing.
It's introducing characters and having them say their catchphrases.
Yeah.
So that people in the audience then go, hey, and my brain now tells me that this is good, and I'm having fun.
Yeah. I remember there was the best one, I think, was when Jax gets his arms frozen off, and I was like, oh, he's going to lose his arms. My wife was like, what? And then suddenly he starts to get his arms frozen. So,
I didn't even know. I couldn't even recall that Jax, the character, is someone with robotic arms.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was just dead.
You thought
I was like, oh my God.
That's what I thought too.
You thought he was dead because that was for me, probably the most, we were talking about the violence not being effective. His getting knocked out of the ring was one of the most oh, fuck.
Yeah. It's because they have him hit his head also. Which
he fucking whacks.
Which I guess he's fine from.
Yeah, he comes back. Arms are fine. Or, arms are gone. Face not at all fucked. He hits concrete and rebar from a 20-foot drop.
It was just so cruel. So suddenly, oh my God.
Well, and I don't know how you guys felt about it. I hated the CG blood. I rarely like CG blood.
Oh, I loved it.
Well, I don't understand why.
Why yes or why not?
No, I don't understand why we go for CG blood when movies have been
cheaper. You don't have to get it out of costumes.
Decades. Yeah. Oh, come on now. Even small, high school students do fake blood and stuff with come on.
Yeah.
No, we're shooting this thing, real quick. We don't want to deal with the hassle. We don't want to deal with the cleanup. We got to run and gun and get this thing made. And that's also why we're definitely going to get the sequels, because this thing was made so dirt cheap that anyone watches it and it's success.
Yeah.
It was funny because I finished the movie, and the whole last 15 minutes is similar to the Snyder Cut is not an ending. It's setting up. It's 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Other stuff, and I was they're not getting any stuff they want. But after this past week that's been out, I'm I think they are.
Yeah, they're gonna get them. They're 100% gonna get them.
Yeah,
I think we're getting a cage, ladies and
gentlemen. One thing also about the violence and some of the problems of doing an adaptation. In the video game, I think it really works when any of the characters are hyper violent, because that's kind of the point. We're meant to rip each other to shreds. Here, I think it's a little bit hard to have your characters who are supposed to be the good guys commit these acts of brutal, chaotic murder.
Yeah.
And have it be yay, guys, root for the man who just rode a woman like a surfboard through a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my boy. That was my boy. The flawless victory. I was they had to kill him. They had to kill him, man. He was too good.
But one thing, though, in terms of now, I don't have a whole lot of experience with the games, and so maybe it's not as much of a character, quote unquote. But I felt the locations where they fight were so boring. It's one is at outside a house on a dirt driveway at night. The next one is, just on a little, it's more of an arena, but it's still just a little sand circle. You could have done a little bit more with at least making the direction and cinematography more vibrant and more makes you really feel like you're there, but it didn't really do that.
I think it's what Paul said also that comes down to how they made this, comparatively to other big movies, they made this a little cheaper. And I think it shows there. When you're saying like the cinematography, I saw a lot of complaints about like the action and everything is shot like too close, to too many cuts, especially for like a martial arts film like this, where you have like a capable cast and everything, to not like, have larger, wider shots so you can see more of the action itself. Mm-hmm. So that's probably goes in with the locations and might also explain the word. I think they do this in the 1997 one also, where like it's not actually Mortal Kombat. It's not actually the tournament.
Yeah.
They talk about the tournament, but the tournament doesn't actually happen in the movie.
Yeah. Like, and in terms of the structure of the movie, like, and we were talking about this with Godzilla versus Kong, of like the obligation to build up characters when I really don't think many people care. And so it's like you're not really getting real fights until maybe 2/3 of the way through the movie. I feel like the first act could have been set up, and then the rest of the movie isn't the actual Mortal Kombat sequence. Yeah. And you're like, because in this, it's the last 10, 15 minutes at that. And it's so quick. And so I think that like there's this long training sequence that, it just feels so needlessly dragged out.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what they learned.
Exactly.
I have no clue what changed in their fighting methods.
No. And with Kano, I feel like there's a twist with his character about how he ends up. I feel like that could have been completely cut and have him just started out as his twist.
Sure.
How he turns out, because it almost feels like we need to get him here to this location. So let's do this twist storyline so it can be convenient. Brutal.
Yeah. We're just going to keep piling on now. The other major problem this movie has is Cole himself, who is just a very boring protagonist. It had nothing to do with the actor. I think the actor is fine. I have no clue the range of this actor. Louis Tan, I think his name is.
So, Louis Tan.
Yeah, nailed it. He'd like, again, like you have Kano who hogs up every scene that he's in with them, and Jax and Sonya are more compelling characters because they're like actual like regular people who, for the most part, like don't have superpowers. Mm-hmm. Like Sonya's arc is more compelling in a weird way. Like, Cole's is just like it's the boring chosen. You're the chosen one. The prophecy, they literally say the prophecy has been fulfilled.
Yeah.
At one point in the movie. It's just the most boring, like, you're the chosen one, come with me. We're going to train you.
Very Harry Potter-esque, Nick.
It wishes.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think the issue with this movie is that, and obviously I have no way to prove any of this speculation. I think that this is something that the studio had a lot of constraints on it. There were a lot of mandates on what it could do, couldn't do, should do, shouldn't do. And I also think, no offense to the director, I'm not trying to like shit on where anyone's career goes, and I hope that he goes on to have like a nicer career than this movie. But he comes from video game adaptation commercials. And this thing feels like an hour, hour 50?
Yeah.
It feels like an hour and 50-minute long billboard.
It is something where, I don't know. Like if you don't, it comes down to like, I want a story.
Mm-hmm.
I want a story that I can follow. I don't know what this story is. I don't know what the story is trying to tell me.
No, me neither.
It's fighting, and Cole wants to protect his family, but like the threat is so vague, and like, like it's going to end the universe, and it's just kind of like, okay, I feel like I don't have a good concept of that, like besides the obvious consequences, I guess.
Yeah.
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 I was going to say, I thought that really one of the only interesting characters, and she doesn't even really speak, was Melina, the girl with the
But just from a cool design standpoint.
Yeah, like that was really one of the only characters that I thought that was like, oh wow, that's kind of interesting looking. But everybody else I felt either looked very digital or they were like just in muted dark colors, and that was kind of it.
Yeah.
I thought Raiden's eyes looked terrible.
And they also,
I thought that was a terrible effect.
So Raiden's eyes, and then I was rewatching the first Guardians, and for me, like Nebula's eyes, like the moment that you put something in your character's eyes that completely obscures a lot of their iris, a lot of what we can see of them, you immediately make it harder for that person to be humanized, for you to see what's going on in their head, for it to seem like, you know, they have something going on, because the eyes are so useful, especially in close-ups. You know, like the eyes are so important in a close-up. And if you've got fucking flashlight eyes just staring out unblinkingly, never changing, never fluctuating, never doing anything to express some sort of emotion, then it just becomes this effect that looks like shit and makes it hard to see what he's thinking.
Yeah. I have another note on Mortal Kombat.
Go for it.
Please.
I understand why this got brought back like as a film.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, with superheroes and everything, Mortal Kombat can kind of lend itself to that because it has this, you know, wide array of, you know, colorful characters with unique abilities, blah, blah, blah. And I think that could be fun. I think the problem is like it's like literally going for an adaptation when what it's making, like what it's translating to screen is just these people gather and they fight and they kill each other. And it doesn't get much deeper than that. And like, if that's what floats your boat, like awesome, cool. Again, for it to be a movie, I need a deeper story of something.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Shakespeare or anything. I like the scene where Sub-Zero attacks like Cole and his family, like out, like on the street and everything. And I'm like, that's cool because I like seeing these powers and like, I like seeing these characters out in the world. And we don't get that outside of that. We get in feudal Japan, and then we just get it like, you know, and like you were saying, like these obscure locations, like at the temple or, you know, somebody's trailer.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have seen more like stuff going down, like in the real world and how the real world reacts.
But see, I feel like I agree with that in a sense. I feel like with the fighting, if you're going to have a movie about fighting, I don't think even the people who want that really get it. Because, like, if this was, you know, Mad Max Fury Road level of like constant action, that's one thing. Like, then you can go crazy with it. But it's only like it's sprinkled throughout. It's not like an all-out fight, almost John Wick-esque kind of thing. It's, you know, I feel like even that for me, maybe for others, perhaps not. Even that for me was underwhelming.
Yeah. No, yeah. You know, I think truthfully, Nick, you know, you were talking about, you know, if that's what floats your boat, then this is going to be it for you. And we've talked about how there are a whole bunch of people who are responding super, super positively to this movie. But I think ultimately what we're seeing happen is really just the birth of the next cult following of another Mortal Kombat entry. The first one has the cult following. The first season of the web series has the cult following. Now I think that this is just going to be the new, you know, bit of media that they latch onto and are like, yeah, you know, this is great. And I think that it'll probably fizzle, kind of like how like the second Mortal Kombat didn't do anywhere, you know, near as well as the first one did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, now I can, even though I thought it was a turd, I mean, like I can get behind the fact that like if fans enjoy it, they get all the references, that's fine. You know, I have movies like that, but I think if you're removed from that, like we are, it's pretty, it washes over you.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, like while I completely see that there are flaws to it, like Assassin's Creed for me is the best recent video game adaptation, because while in the modern day parts of that film are flawed, at least the action is incredibly well done. And it has great cinematography, great production design, where that is at a higher level than I feel like the action in this is. And so it's like that movie, I can kind of look past certain things, whereas this, it's all kind of flatlined.
It's weirdly it's inconsistent. Like I like the fight. I like the fight in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I do like when he rides his hat like a surfboard.
Yes, great stuff.
Or Demon Girl open. And I like, even though it further sidelines the main character completely, I do like the ending fight, the ice cavern that Sub-Zero turns it into. I like that fight. The rest, like, instantly forgotten, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did like the fight towards the end as well with Melina in it. I mean, she's in it briefly in that scene, but I thought that was a decent action sequence as well.
I think the soul-sucking guy should just do everything. Why doesn't he just...
It's true.
It's like he could handle it himself.
Yeah.
Could but okay.
Yeah. Now, what about for you guys? What are there any other favorite video game movies for you?
Maybe the first Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie.
Okay.
Most video game adaptations for me, I'm like, if they're not terrible, then I'm like, they're okay.
I need to pull up a list of video game adaptations.
Yeah, I need to know.
Angry Birds, perhaps.
Oh God.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, classic.
Oh, you can't beat that.
Prince of Persia.
You're really just swinging them, you know.
It's a bleak field.
Yeah.
I can't think of any.
No, I mean,
it's a cursed subgenre.
It really is. There hasn't honestly been someone who's done like probably an actual breakout adaptation, you know?
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay, so I've got a list here from Rotten Tomatoes of some video game adaptations. Oh, they're counting all of the Pokemon movies as video game.
Well, then those are the best ones, obviously.
Yeah, probably. The Hitman movie with Timothy Olyphant, the Max Payne movie, Doom. By the way, I should clarify, I'm on a list of 45 films. I'm at movie 28, and currently they're at 18%. They're going worst to best.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and we just hit Henry's favorite, Assassin's Creed, at
Love it.
18%.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, Lara Croft is at 20%. There we go.
Where's the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider?
I haven't hit it yet.
I think that one's in the 50s, actually.
Yeah, that one's
52. It's number 5. Yeah. Oh, wow. It's actually worse reviewed by 2%, according to Rotten Tomatoes, than the current Mortal Kombat movie. Guys, what would you rather watch?
Oh,
I don't think that's fair.
I would happily watch Tomb Raider again.
I would rather watch Tomb Raider. I like Tomb Raider.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you like to hear what the top 3 adaptation movie video game
Are they all
adaptations
Pokemon?
I'm saying Angry Birds 2 is in there.
Okay, so the number 3 is Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, so Sonic. It came out. Like,
at number 2, Detective Pikachu.
All right.
And at number 1, Angry Birds 2.
Is Angry Birds 2 the one with the gag where the eagle's pissing?
No, that's 1. That's a classic scene.
That's a classic one. Oh, no, it's 2 is they're in the urinal, right?
Yeah.
They're in the bath. I can only remember the potty, the literal potty humor.
Yes.
Bleak field, guys. Really bleak field.
Where's the Super Mario movie?
It was on there. It was just further down. Oh my god.
Well, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
I needed to laugh.
Okay. Well, anything else about video game movies, Mortal Kombat, anything at all?
How isn't it so strange how major $1 billion franchises like Halo and Gears of War and stuff still don't have anything?
Yeah,
Halo's been in production hell for an eternity.
Forever.
That's one I would really like to see.
It is crazy. I think it's like a series now. It's like back to being, I don't know. It's like been a movie, then a series, then a movie, then a series.
Which honestly, I think most of these video games would be better suited for a TV show, like an HBO series, you know?
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Well, hopefully The Last of Us, that's probably the video game adaptation that I think might work the best, is probably the Last of Us adaptation.
I agree.
I'm going through the very last of my notes that I have for Mortal Kombat here, and I forgot that they also, poor Cole, they also have the main character literally give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes home. And he's just dragged back into it. He doesn't make the choice like I have to go back.
Also, Raiden leaves too much, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Who does, Raiden?
Yeah, he just vanishes all of the time.
He wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anything else, guys?
That's all I got. I'm sorry, Mortal Kombat.
It's all good.
This kind of thing for me hits a lot of my same problems with stuff like Justice League and some other movies that have come out recently, you know, where they do all of the fan service and a whole bunch of people react to it and are like, oh, it was so good because of the fan service. And, you know, this is just another prime example.
Yeah. All right. Out of 5 stars, guys.
2.5 for me.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah.
Generous.
Like I said, it still was very entertaining to me.
Paul?
I don't know. 2, maybe 1.5. I'll say 2.
Rating movies sucks.
Yeah. I think I gave it a 1.5 on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
I'll go 1.
Just after talking about it for a half hour, you know what?
Oh, God.
So cool. Well, we still got another review to get to, so let's talk Nobody. And we do have a clip as well, so take a listen.
Agent Mansell, FBI. I'm looking for old. What? Your ID is a badge. Expired by about 20 years. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that ain't you in the photo. So, who are you? I'm just a man who's looking for someone. Yeah, well, you probably shouldn't flash cheese like that around here, bro. There are 3 types of people who, as you say, flash cheese. People who don't know any better, people who are seeking to intimidate, and people like me who wish with every fiber of their being that someone would try to take it from them.
All right, so Nobody is in theaters and on VOD now. And it's directed by, sorry to butcher this name, Ilya Naishuler. Sorry if I butcher it. And it stars Bob Odenkirk, Alexei, Sarah Bryakov, Connie Nielsen, Christopher Lloyd, Michael Ironside, Colin. Who am I forgetting here? It's all mixed up here.
Did you say RZA?
Oh no, yeah, he's in there. I think that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the synopsis is a bystander who intervenes to help a woman being harassed by a group of men becomes the target of a vengeful drug lord. So I think, Nick, did you talk about this briefly a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I had seen it about a week or so early before it came out. This movie's a little better than the previous movie that we used. Yeah, I think this movie is pretty fun. I think it loses some of its potential by the time it gets to the third act, but I think this is a really solid action movie. So the director, he did a Hardcore Henry.
Oh, okay.
Which is a really unique kind of thing, whether or not it's like your bag or not, but it's a really cool action movie. That's a whole like first person point of view. Anyway, and it was written by, I've written this dude's name like a dozen times and I can't remember now, but he does all the John Wick movies.
Derek Kolstad.
Yeah, he did all the John Wick movies, and he did some of Falcon and the Winter Soldier also.
Okay.
And this definitely, like, knowing that, you're like, there's definitely like a lot of John Wick in this, and that Bob Odenkirk is an older guy who's retired from his past life of professional killing until he's pulled back in, and then he's like, I enjoy this.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was missing. I thought it was really fun. The action is great in this for the most part. I think the scene on the bus in particular is a really, really great action sequence. That one's really cool. It's pretty straightforward. I don't think it gets too overly complicated. It introduces a lot of, I don't know whether the word is like commentary or ideas about, like about American culture, self-defense and gun control. Not control, but I guess no. Put my thoughts together here. I think it sets up a lot of interesting perspectives about stuff. I think. Can I get into spoilers? That's the hard.
Yeah. Spoilers ahead, so be warned.
So, the whole thing kicks off because he doesn't protect his family. He doesn't kill the person or whack him in the head with a golf club or whatever he has there. And later we learned that's because the gun was empty. So he had a reason, to not strike this person because they weren't actually like in mortal danger as far as like somebody getting shot.
Mm-hmm.
But the third act then just dissolves into like, well, let's just get all these guns and just start killing like a ton of people, having like a blast doing it, and the whole family's here. Which again is a lot of fun. That's like a crazy, ending sequence. I think is pretty memorable. But I feel like it loses whatever interesting thing it had to just like go balls to the wall action by the end.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you guys think of Nobody?
Paul?
I really liked Nobody a lot. It was super fun. I walked away from it kind of as energized as I did after the first John Wick movie, and it does have a lot of that movie, It even has all of the kind of like universe sort of building stuff of like this interesting career and these connections he has through it and what it all means and so forth. And I agree with Nick. I think that it does a lot. It says a lot of stuff, I think, about like sort of like masculinity culture and like, being like the rugged, man that defends yourself at all costs.
Yeah.
And,
you have his next door neighbor who is like,
mm-hmm.
if they came over here, I would have got him. You have his brother-in-law.
Need a little practice.
Yeah, and he he basically forces him to like carry a gun also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that it's really, really interesting, how they introduce all of those things. His wife sort of and him have this negative relationship, and the sort of deeper in to the life he gets where he kind of reawakens who he is through violence that he actively seeks out, which is a whole nother ball of wax. He's finally able to kind of reconnect with himself and then reconnect with his wife. And so they kind of do just sort of do like this very quick, like patch-a-do, box up our themes and kind of put them in a car with the wife and send those themes away. We've got the final action sequence to do. And so they definitely abandon it, and that does pull it down. I thought it was a blast, though. I love the work that Bob Odenkirk put into it. It shows that he did the work because he looks fantastic, and it helps make the action sequence all that better. When you can actually have your actor be in like a nice, long, clean single take, throwing a punch and taking a punch. So I really, really enjoyed it. Henry, what did you think?
I liked it. I think maybe about as much as Nick, maybe a little less. It feels, knowing that it's written by the John Wick guy, I don't know if I like that makes me like the movie more or less, because it feels very reminiscent of the first John Wick, and that film is my least favorite of the three. And so in that sense, I found it to be pretty plain. I thought the action was pretty good. Like the bus sequence is great, and the cutting the throat and the straw, amazing. And then also I think while it does kind of break down into just a big action sequence at the end, I think that's where it became the most creative with the fighting. Like some of the explosive kills and stuff like that, I thought were pretty well done. But I think my biggest issue with it was I just didn't really have a whole lot of interest as to where it was going. I felt like I didn't care all that much about the world and that I had seen it many times before. I did love Bob Odenkirk in it. I thought he was great. As Paul was saying, he does the stunts and that makes it really visceral and feel very genuine. And I like that about it. It's just that everything surrounding him, I was kind of bored by, but it's still kind of a nice contained under the radar, gritty, thriller. And I'm always up for that. I like a good fighting movie, a good siege movie. I think in comparison, I maybe like it about as much as the first John Wick, maybe a little more. But yeah, so I liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it though.
I think what's to give it some positives, it's definitely familiar, like you said, and I feel like it's kind of it's self-aware to a point. I really like how the movie opens really quick, cutting through his week and everything.
Yeah.
Get it. They don't waste a lot of time like you'd see in other movies, setting up, hey, there's average Joe here with his family. They're very quick to here's this guy, you get it. Let's go into it. I like that Bob Odenkirk brings something different in that he doesn't feel like John Wick, like an unstoppable killing machine. He still feels fallible person who takes just as many hits, if not more, when he's brawling with people. Eventually, it gets to well, I guess they're invincible, but
Yeah.
I think Bob Odenkirk maybe just is better at selling that, someone who is actually being hurt here. It's still a struggle here.
Yeah. One quick thing. I did like if the movie did feel in terms of the editing style, it made me think of what if Edgar Wright had directed John Wick.
Yeah.
Because that kind of rapid fire editing showing a mundane daily life really reminds me of Shaun of the Dead, World's End.
Yeah. I also like the kind of running gag they have where anytime he starts to get into exposition about who he used to be, his backstory and all that, the person who he's talking to dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another kind of self-aware cheekiness. That's you get it, well, let's move on.
No, I think for me, some of the shortcomings of the movie, I think, are sort of trappings of the genre, and I do think that this movie, maybe a little bit more than John Wick or Atomic Blonde, was definitely really trying to go for a really effective setup to create as many action scenarios as possible. And so for me, I think that it ultimately ended up working, where even some of my shortcomings with the movie I'm willing to forgive, because I think that for the most part, its positives really bring it up and elevate the movie overall. Mortal Kombat had a premise that promises so much action that can be so cool, and then they kind of chop it to hell, minimize it, don't get all that creative with it. And it ends up not having any plot at all of any kind whatsoever. And so for me, this was gritty, pulpy popcorn action done the way that's very effective.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it was a pretty tight movie. I like that. It's pretty in and out. I was never really bored by it. I thought that I think the attack at his house was excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I love Christopher Lloyd in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought his storyline was probably my favorite.
Hey, he's very obviously just having a ball.
Yeah. I miss Christopher Lloyd, and so when I saw him, I was like, oh, good. I'm glad he's doing well. I'm glad he's having a good time.
Yeah.
For me, the villain was probably one of my weaker points of it, which is some of the issues that I have with the sequels of the John Wick movies. I think the first John Wick for me has the villain I enjoy the most. And so for me, I think that this guy was kind of...
I mean, he's the Russian mob boss,
Yeah. with a karaoke obsession.
Right. With, he is the one character quirk.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, he's just the Russian mob boss.
Yeah.
So yeah, I that was a bit of a down for me, was just that, I thought that it was a pretty interesting story, and then I thought that they didn't really, it wasn't a villain that matched.
Mm-hmm. Biggest crime of the movie, though, is they never eat the lasagna that he makes. They never get a chance to eat it. It's handmade from scratch. They never get to eat it. It gets covered in blood.
Maybe in the sequel.
Yes, perhaps.
Should ask for that specifically.
Yeah. Hashtag release the lasagna cut.
Yeah, a deleted scene of them eating it all.
And I need to see them eat that lasagna, otherwise it's shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of just a cool, like I said, like kind of under the radar movie that I didn't know anything about going into it. So it was kind of a nice surprise from what else is out these days.
Yeah. It's an honest mid-budget movie, and like the art of making a good mid-budget movie is pretty thoroughly lost.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate like how the fights are a little more like dirtier, and I know the word gritty, but it is like a little grittier. Like when I reviewed Nobody, I compared John Wick and like Atomic Blonde stuff is kind of like dance almost, like their action scenes are like almost like a ballet in that sense. Whereas this was just like, this was really down in the dirt.
Yeah.
Well, one quick thing, not that it hurts the movie at all. When the bus scene came along, where you're still kind of like, is he actually somebody who has a very violent past, or is he actually just a nobody? I was actually hoping that when he started the fight, he would be terrible. And it would just be about him trying to adapt.
He somehow does it.
Yeah, but that wasn't the case. But it's okay. So yeah. Anything else about Nobody?
I got it.
Is this one of the better films of the year for you guys, or is it?
Yeah, definitely for me so far. Yes, of things that came out this year.
Yes, so far, so one of the more solid ones.
Yeah,
one of the ones I have less complaints about.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, out of 5 stars, guys.
Nick?
Yeah, I'll go for like 3.5.
Same. Paul?
Oh, I'll go 4.
Okay.
I'll be the more positive one this time.
Ding ding.
Yeah. Cool. So I guess with all that done, we can touch on the Oscars, which just happened this past weekend. Like I said, I didn't watch them. Did you guys watch them?
No one watched them.
Yes.
Well, nobody watches
and no one.
Nobody watches award shows anymore.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons, but one of the big ones is that like nobody has cable anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Stream it if you already have like a plan, like a cable.
Yeah.
I watched it. I watched all the way up until like the last half hour. I got like until the big awards. This is when I stopped watching.
Yeah, so I guess for some background, so this one, the viewership, I guess for the first time or in a long time, it was under 10 million viewers, where I think last year's was over 20 million. So a pretty big drop off. And then another twist that they did towards the end was they did Best Picture before Best Actor. Mm-hmm. And I guess best actress.
Yeah.
And so
before both the lead acting categories.
Yeah. So Nomadland won Best Picture, but then the big disappointment at the end was, so Joaquin Phoenix came out to give the Best Actor award, and I think a lot of people were hoping it was going to be Chadwick Boseman, but it ended up being Anthony Hopkins, and he was not there. He was asleep, apparently. And then Joaquin Phoenix walked off stage, and that was the end of the show.
The end.
And so I think a lot of people were not only pissed that Chadwick Boseman did not get it, which his family has already said, has come out and said, we don't feel snubbed, but a lot of people were upset about that. And also it ended on such a low note.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen Nomadland yet. I've been wanting to. So I feel like that was the favorite for sure. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
I really like Nomadland. When I saw Nomadland, I saw it when it first came out on Hulu. Like back in February, and I called it was going to win Best Picture, not just at the Oscars, but like the majority of awards places. And I was right.
Yeah,
I think it's fantastic. It's really just, it comes down to Chloe Zhao, who also won Best Director.
Yes.
Such an interesting filmmaking style. That's right. They're going to like love or hate. I feel like it blurs the line between like documentary and, like a scripted story and everything. And her cinematographer, like it's just all beautiful, like vistas, all this stuff. It's almost Terrence Malick in a way, if you know enough of his movies. It's not quite the same, but it's that same kind of atmospheric. It's more about a mood than anything else.
Yeah. Now, what about as for the Oscars themselves? Were there any that you guys thought were snubbed or surprised by? Anything that struck out to you, or was it just couldn't care less?
There's a lot of snubs as far as nominations go.
Yeah.
For me, the only winner out of the nominees that I don't agree with at all is Frances McDormand for Nomadland, which I feel like compared to which is she's great in it, but compared to the other performances, it just is not even close. In my opinion, I thought that was a very strange choice to go with compared to the other ones.
Yeah, Paul, anything for you?
No, I mean, I didn't really care much for them. I kind of dropped out of paying much attention to award shows for various reasons, I'm sure a lot of other people share as well. So I had kept up with who was nominated, but I didn't try and get caught up in time. I've seen a few of the nominees. One of the things that I really disagreed with was the placement of Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya both in the supporting actor category. I think that they should have been placed in lead actor because it's a two-hander.
I agree.
And if my wife made the point, if this were a stage play, those two characters would have come out and shared a bow at the end, at curtain call. So I'd have put them in the lead category. I think Delroy Lindo was probably my biggest snub from Defy Bloods.
Defy Bloods as a whole is
sure
category. Highway fucking robbery.
Yeah.
And I kind of disagree with Sacha Baron Cohen getting it for Trial of the Chicago 7. He was one of my least favorite performers from that movie, and it's one of my least favorite Sacha Baron performances. I think his accent's all over the place in that movie.
There were two majors, Defy Bloods, and there's a film called First Cow also, which I really loved, which was also snubbed completely from the awards. Haven't seen First Cow. You should watch First Cow.
Yeah, I've been curious about that one.
Yeah, Best Actor going to Anthony Hopkins. I think that is fine. I understand why we want Chadwick to win. I think the bigger issue is that they kind of made it seem like they were building up to give the award to Chadwick Boseman. That then didn't do that. So it's, like a weird kind of, and they were giving out NFTs of him or something like that. You're yeah. So I don't agree with Best Actress. A lot of snubs for Best Actress. And Invisible Man is another movie that should have been in there, but nope. I don't know who should have won Best Actress. Viola Davis.
Yeah.
She doesn't have enough screen time. I don't know. I feel like she doesn't have enough screen time, but people have won that award for less.
Yeah.
Okay, so supporting actress, who won that? That was that was from Minari, Young Jin Young. Yep,
right.
She had the best acceptance speech. That was good. I was rooting for Maria Bakalova from Borat because that's just the insane, fearless performance. But I still think that was well deserved. Sorry, is it okay if I just go through them? I have the
Sure.
supporting actor went to Kaluuya, which is yes, but again, I agree. Him and Lakeith should have been competing in lead actor. Absolutely bizarre. Or I guess intentional, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good win for me. Best director, Chloe Zhao. Yes, that's the tough one though. Okay, original screenplay. Who won that?
Promising Young Woman.
Promising Young Woman. Yeah. I don't know. I have not seen Promising Young Woman.
Me neither.
I don't have an opinion on it. A lot of people have very strong opinions on.
I've been really wanting to, but I haven't seen it.
No one needs to know anyway. Adapted screenplay. Who won that?
Was that Mank? Or, I don't know.
No, it wasn't Mank. It was. Was it The Father? Oh, geez. Hold on. I have it. Where are you? Yeah, adapted screenplay was The Father. Okay.
Yeah.
Animated feature should have gone to Wolfwalkers. Went to Soul. Tough. I understand why I went to Soul. I'm a little tired of Pixar domination.
Same.
So if they could stop making good movies, that'd be swell.
Or if someone else could step up, like they don't have to stop.
It's so because the only other Over the Moon is just riddled with problems for me. I've seen all the animated ones. I think Soul is very good. Definitely has issues, but I think it's mostly very good. Over the Moon, ton of issues I have with that one. Shaun the Sheep, Farmageddon. No, I really liked the first Shaun the Sheep movie. I did not like this movie.
Really? I saw the first one and liked it.
Yeah, I like that one too. Farmageddon is just so lazy. It's so uninspired to me. It's a very, it's E.T. It's every alien, friendly alien comes to Earth and they get into hijinks and the attempt to get the alien back home. And it's like, that's so tired at this point.
Yeah.
For children's movies and everything. Wolfwalkers. Fantastic. I think that should have won. Onward, I also really like. Sometimes I like Onwards more than Soul.
Yeah.
Soul's a better movie. But I don't know. Onward, I think the last act of Onward really kills me.
Yeah.
It's me where it hurts. International went to another round. Pretty cool. I haven't seen that.
Me neither.
See that? I like the premise of that. La Llorona was snubbed in that category. And everyone should watch that. It's on Shudder. It is not The Curse of La Llorona. That movie is terrible.
Yeah.
Should see that. Editing went to Sound of Metal. Yes. Correct.
Correct.
That's correct. Sound went to Sound of Metal. Also correct. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't know. I also don't have incredibly strong opinions on this.
Yeah.
I think I can actually confirm pretty much like the direct moment that I lost all faith in at least the Oscars, and it was when Suicide Squad won for hair and makeup.
Wasn't that horrifying?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially because like Beyond was nominated, and like I think that was the same year as Guardians Volume 2, and that didn't even get a nomination.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
so like fucking atrocity.
Yeah, the definitely the problem with the Oscars is they ignore genre films just almost entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's terrible. Yeah, it really you can put faith in other there's like the Critics' Choice Awards, there's the Spirit Awards, blah blah blah. There's so many different ones.
Yeah. If you ever want a great like piece to sort of explain, if you're unfamiliar about some of the bunk and bullshit about award shows, there's a online segment from a show called Adam Ruins Everything that talks about award shows. And there is also an article that you can go and read. I want to say it was written by the Hollywood Reporter. Maybe it was Variety. I can't remember. It was the entire story of how Harvey Weinstein ran an entire very aggressive campaign to get Shakespeare in Love nominated and to win Best Picture. And it ended up beating out Saving Private Ryan that year.
Right.
And he ran a vicious campaign to knock that movie out of the contender spot.
That's the other part of it, right? Is it's the campaign. Who gets the money to campaign?
Yeah.
Movie to win. And does it even matter at the end of the day?
No.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, what do you guys want to do? You want to call it quits? You want to do a couple picks of the week? What are you feeling?
We can do a few quick picks of the week.
Yeah, I'm down.
Do we want to do like 3 each?
Sure.
Cool.
Nick, you're the guest. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, like just like what people should be watching.
Or just
Stuff you've been watching.
Yeah, it can be good or bad, Just
Sure.
Just,
I'm gonna look at my most recent movies here. So after Godzilla vs. I watched a movie called Boys from County Hell, which is on Shudder right now. Again, if you don't have Shudder, you got to get Shudder. Shudder is very good stuff. So Boys from County Hell is Irish, and it's basically like Shaun of the Dead but with vampires. So it's about like this group of young kids in this small Irish like farm town. There's not much to do there, but there's an ancient vampire. It's like the one tourist attraction, and they're going to build a road through the town. It's going to put people out of business. It's going to destroy like the vampire burial site. It's going to go through the tourist attraction, all that, which of course it does, which angers the vampire, and so he comes after the town, and it's up to this group of people to stop the vampire this evening. So like it's a pretty standard like setup, but it's pretty funny though. Like it's more like most of the characters, half of the characters treat the vampires like this is just like another job I have to do. Like what a pain in the ass. Like now I got to deal with this.
right.
Then the other half are like, I guess you could say like more the straight man, where they're just like exhausted at like the absurdity, because majority of it takes place over one night.
Okay.
And they're just like so much goes down, and like, yeah, they really capture like the absurdity. This is ridiculous what we have to deal with right now. Like, what's going on?
Is this new?
Yeah. This is a new film.
Okay.
So yes, I'd recommend that. Definitely enjoyed it. Saw an indie film called Beast, which is about three people that interconnects their stories. It ends up being a story kind of like about gun violence, maybe gun control. Who knows? But it's about these two high schoolers. This one kid is new. He just moved here. This one girl is like popular, like theater student. Blah blah blah. The new kid he lives in a more impoverished part of town. Like the people he hangs out with, like they just like smoke weed and like steal from the gas station and stuff. They're hoodlums.
Yeah, big time.
They're still just kids at the end of the day. So anyway, they end up breaking into this guy's house. And this guy's like a big gun enthusiast. Like he makes a bunch of YouTube videos of him. Like it's like, here's how to handle the gun, reload the gun, blah, blah, blah. That kind of stuff. And tragic events happen.
No way.
Yes. And they kind of deal with the aftermath of it. So for like a kind of like, something geared towards younger audiences, I guess, starring younger actors and all that. It's pretty solid. Pretty good direction. When the event happens, it's a pretty like low key film for the most part. So when the home break-in happens and everything that comes with that, it is like kind of like a big like, oh wow, like it does feel like it was building up to something.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty solid. I don't love the ending, but pretty solid also. I mentioned Eat Wheaties, which I watched with Tony Hale. And the last movie I watched recently was Tigers Are Not Afraid. Also on Shudder. It's a Mexican horror fantasy film that takes place during like the big drug wars in Mexico.
Okay.
It's about this group of kids that are made orphans basically from their parents being killed by the drug gangs and the drug cartels and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like 3 wishes. They're trying to survive like in this war-torn Mexico basically.
Right.
It's very depressing. It's very good. It's very depressing.
Okay.
Very good stuff though. Yeah.
Paul, you want to go next?
Sure. So I recently rewatched the Pineapple Express.
Lucky.
Great movie. Such a weirdly in a certain way, like a very chill movie, really. Like there are long stretches where that movie just has like a nice steady energy to it. And the finale gets really hectic and certain parts get really hectic. But like once you're not in a moment of utter chaos, like it does take on this very like chill, wavy sort of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoy
that. Might be my favorite Seth Rogen movie.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It's really good. I enjoy it a lot. It was my wife's first time watching it. She really enjoyed it. Then I saw Star Trek The Motion Picture from 79, I think. On a certain negative side, it feels like a very long episode of Star Trek The Original Series. So like if the original series is not your bag, probably not for you. And it could be cut a little bit.
Paul, it takes forever to get to the ship.
Yes. And so I really enjoy the movie, though. And I really enjoy the finale where, it turns out that it is this, very particular entity, not to get into spoilers. If you haven't seen it, like go back and rewatch it, especially, since you won't be watching it with a trailer or any kind of previous knowledge. Like I really enjoyed the little final reveal. And how the finale wrapped up and how, pretty much the whole movie, only like one person kind of dies, but not really. So I really dug it. I liked it a lot. We're going to go through and we're going to watch all of the old Star Trek movies.
Nice.
Over time.
They're good. They're fun.
Yeah. And I've seen some of them. I just hadn't seen the first one. And then I'm trying to think if there's any other movies that I've watched recently. Not really. I mean, I watched the first Guardians. I'm still watching Legend of Korra.
Yeah.
How about you, Henry?
Well, like I mentioned to Paul, I watched Sound of Metal the other night, which was a Best Picture nominee. And I was late to the game on this one for sure. And while, of course, this statement has no meaning because our top 10 lists are lost to history, they're done. They're set in stone. If I had seen this last year, it would have been my number one film of the year.
Yeah, that's always my issue. I'm like, when I'm making best of the year, I'm like, because there's so many I haven't seen. I don't know.
Yeah. and just for context, so it's about a metal drummer who suddenly loses his hearing and he has to adapt to being deaf. And it's really poignant, and Riz Ahmed is incredible in it. It's so well directed. It's really touching so well. The ups and downs of his loss is so great, and it feels so genuine. The sound, it won Best Sound at the Oscars, and it's for good reason. It's incredible sound work on it. Yeah, I absolutely loved Sound of Metal. So that's on Amazon. And then I rewatched The Planet of the Apes, the original, which I still love. And Apes on horseback, amazing. Love it. Always love, especially in the new films. I love it when apes are on horseback. Cinematically, it's great.
Yeah, it's a pleasing image.
Yeah. And then lastly, I watched The Ring, which for anyone who's listened to the show knows I love Gore Verbinski. Huge fan of Pirates, Rango, Cure for Wellness. And this one I had not seen. I'd watched Scary Movie 3, so I kind of knew the parody side of it. But I thought it was pretty good. I mean, he has such a great eye for visuals. It's like darkly beautiful to sound cheesy.
He's the shit, man.
Yeah, it's great. And I think Naomi Watts, I mean, she's always pretty good in it, but she's quite good. It is pretty impressive for being a PG-13 film. I didn't realize that going in. I was expecting it to be a lot more gory. But for the rating, it does a pretty good job of maintaining a pretty eerie, dark atmosphere and tone. And so, yeah, it's not maybe lost a little bit of its luster over the years, or just because of how much I've known about it since it came out, but still really enjoyed it. And yeah, I think that might be about it for me. So cool. Well, guys, anything else you want to mention about anything?
Paul, where are you at in Legend of Korra?
I just finished the 2-parter where you get the backstory of the first Avatar.
Yeah, man. Season 2 suddenly comes back to life.
Yeah. Great 2-part episode. Really enjoyed it.
That's really good stuff. Here's what I'll say about I really like both Legend of Korra and Last Airbender. Everyone obviously is like Last Airbender is better. I think Last Airbender is more consistently better. Like more consistent. I feel like Legend of Korra has a lot of my favorite moments of the whole series, though. I feel like Legend of Korra has moments that surpass Last Airbender, but like the thing as a whole doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I actually think I prefer Legend of Korra over Avatar, actually. So I think I'm the opposite.
I prefer book 3 of Legend of Korra over Last Airbender. Book is my favorite.
Okay. I'll definitely let you know what I think of like the whole thing once I kind of get done with it, and I'll send you some updates as I go through it.
Yeah, please do. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. I guess that about does it for the show. It's been quite something. Pretty epic. Now next week, I don't think we've really decided on something. It's kind of open. Paul, is there anything that's catching your eye?
Nah, not really. We'll figure it out.
Are you guys doing a Falcon and Winter Soldier thing, or did you already do that?
Oh, we should do a Falcon and Winter Soldier thing. Yeah.
Is it all done with?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
okay.
over.
All right.
We can do that next week.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Good luck. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah. So I guess we'll shoot for that for next week. And so stay updated on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at FilmBuds, thefilmbuds.com as well, where you can check out bonus shows and get merch and all that good stuff. Stay updated. Well, cool. Well, guys, as always, thanks a lot. Nick, thanks for coming on and taking the time.
Yeah, thanks as always for having me.
Yeah, man. And Paul, as always, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah. So cool. Well, we hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and we'll see you next time.